Welcome. It is another exciting session with us here at the STEM Festival Mentorship Sessions. Today, it takes a very wonderful turn. Inclusive is the hashtag today, and we are very privileged to be interacting with Dr. Miss Na Ajwa Ajeleboy Jani. She's a medical doctor, a researcher, and a health advocate. I don't want to spill the beans. She has a very special skill. And she'll not be here alone. She'll be here with another very special person. But I have learned a thing or two even before she even presents to us. And this is how I sign. Welcome. My name is Lucy. So stick and stay. Remember, we're proudly brought to you by Primetime Limited in partnership with Pepsodent, Bell Beverages, Jupe Money Transfer, YFM, and GTP. Stick and stay.
Akoto! Akoto! I know you are there. Come on, Akoto! Come see Capremio. Come see Capremio.
Hello, Alpha.
Come on,
Yeah, the landlady is here today too. She's harassing me this morning. Yes, come and see how I'm sweating.
Well, if I catch you,
Yes, the number I sent you the last time. Yes, use the Jupe app. It will come right now.
Piebra. Ah, so I'm sick of mommy. Give me my money. Me, Jimsika.
We didn't know. What your Jupe is here? Yes, Karanabe. Your Jupe. Jupe is the best money transfer app that is used to send money directly from the US to Ghana free of charge. They have the best rates in the market and they are very competitive. And no thing is Kano Kana Abrosono.
Let me see.
She's never had a toothache before.
There might be a cavity. Don't you use Pepsodent?
We used to, but I'll try the new one.
Ah, that's why.
But doesn't every toothpaste give cavity protection?
Not really. Pepsodent's Cavity Fighter repairs tiny invisible holes to give 10 times stronger teeth. Will you trust Pepsodent?
Definitely.
Pepsodent, 10 times stronger teeth.
Use Pepsodent's Cavity Fighter.
Akoto! I know you are there. Come on, Akoto! Come see Capremio.
Hello, Alpha.
Come on,
Yeah, the landlady is here today too. She's harassing me this morning. Yes, come and see how I'm sweating.
Well, if I catch you,
Yes, the number I sent you the last time. Yes, use the Jupe app. It will come right now.
Piebra. Ah, so I'm sick of mommy. Give me my money. Me, Jimsika.
We didn't know. What your Jupe is here? Yes, Karanabe. Your Jupe. Jupe is the best money transfer app that is used to send money directly from the US to Ghana free of charge. They have the best rates in the market and they are very competitive. And no thing is Kano Kana Abrosono.
Hello, welcome to today's mentorship sessions. My name is Dr. Na Ajwa Ajele Boy Jani. Sign name this or this. And here to help with the sign language is Yao. Sign name, Enoch. So you can take over. Now, today's topic, we'll be discussing inclusion in STEM. That is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, let me share a bit of my life with you for context. I am a medical doctor, writer, and researcher. I primarily had most of my education experience in Ghana, from the basic school level through to the junior high school level and the senior high school level and the university level. While I was in the primary and junior high school level, I liked football so much, and in fact, I was a defender in school, believe it or not. And after my BEC examination, I got a chance to attend Wesley Girls Senior High School. In Wesley Girls, in fact, those were years of exploration for me, because I got a chance to do so many things and engage in so many sports, from basketball to hockey, to netball, and I was even a shot put medalist as well. I ended up having quite a number of awards, sporting awards from basketball, because I was winning a lot of inter-house competitions with my team. I also had the chance to be part of the National Science and Math Quiz team, where I doubled as the team lead as well. It was a fantastic experience, but at one point, I was asked by my physical education teacher at the time to choose between being an NSMQ girl, or what we used to call Brilla girl, and being part of the basketball team. It was quite a tough decision, but ultimately, I decided that, given the fact that I was there to study, I just decided to go with the NSMQ team. But I never forgot my first love, which was basketball. So after writing my WASI exams, we stayed in my team, the NSMQ team, and I stayed together to do some of the regional contests and prepare for the National Science and Math Quiz team. It was a very educative time, as we got to interact and also have quiz competitions with some schools from the region in Cape Coast, like Infantipim School and Infantiman School. And then we even went to other regions in Kumasi, where we faced Kumasi High, and we also faced St. Louis, as well as Archbishop Porter Girls. And it was quite a fun time. We were able to go to the National Science and Math Quiz Contest, and that was in 2014, we were camped at the Jane Nelson Hall in the University of Ghana on campus. It was quite an exciting time, and as I told you earlier, I never forget my first love, basketball. And I believe in holistic education, so I decided to have my basketball brought to me. Every morning, I decided to make a few layup shots, some three-pointers. Believe it or not, I was making three-pointers because I was a center back in high school. So I was making all the rebounds and, yes, layups and you name it. Yes. So it soon became a culture because some of the other girls were interested in playing basketball. And also those who did not know how to play basketball were also interested in learning how to play basketball. Soon, the other schools like St. Augustine's College and Infantiman Girls joined us, and it became a culture among the schools. And it was such a fun time, and it was one of my fondest memories of the National Science and Math Quiz team. 2014, in that same year, Infantipim School won the National Science and Math Quiz team. And I think I can say, by extension of Mobagehe, you know which other school won. And this year, congrats to Infante Pim School again for winning the National Science and Math Quiz 10 years later. Such a full circle moment, isn't it? This is a picture that depicts my journey through school, and it's a summary of some of the sporting awards that I won while in school. And I had the opportunity of going to the University of Ghana Medical School on a partially funded scholarship back in 2014. Medical school was a different ballgame, but before we go into the details of medical school, let's go to one very pertinent question. Why did I choose medicine? You see, medicine had not always been my dream. And in fact, I wanted to be a mathematician. I remember that I used to sit by the television and I admired the government statistician so much because she was a female named Dr. Grace Bediako. And I used to sit in front of the television with rapt attention whenever she would talk about these figures and statistics. And in fact, the math really I really took interest in the math aspect of things because math is about proving and calculations, and you don't need to do so much to support or buttress your point. So I really loved mathematics. But nonetheless, in Ghana, when you are an A student, there are a limited number of career options that are laid out for you by your parents or people in the society. So for instance, in our context, it was either become a doctor, become an engineer, become a lawyer, an accountant, or go into IT. And I chose to become a doctor, but don't get me wrong, I really love being a doctor. I really love it. But just that my first love is mathematics and will always be mathematics. So after I got into medical school, I remember I had an internship as a producer, producing multiple shows, and I worked in media for quite a while where I wrote a number of stories on social issues as well. And the stories were about the injustices that people face every single day. And it's something that I'm passionate about because I'm very passionate about advocacy. Subsequently, before I graduated medical school, and we have this rotation called community health, which is like public health, where you go into the community to look at the environment, look at the processes and how the environment and people living and I realized that the children were quite happy to see us. However, there was one challenge. They were not able to communicate with us, and we were not also able to communicate with them because we hadn't learned sign language. So I made a promise to make sure that I learned sign language, and I knew I was going to be back in grand style, of course. Hold on to that story for a bit. I know you are interested in knowing more, but hold on to that story a bit. And let's talk about inclusion. So on the matter of inclusion, I just want you to imagine this scenario. Let's say you make a call to your favorite restaurant to make a reservation because you like to eat there. After all, that is your favorite restaurant. First of all, when you arrive at your restaurant, you are walking, you're on foot. You're not using a car, so you pass through the narrow gates, and beside you, there's a wider gate for the cars. But you realize that no one opens the door for you before you enter, but people are opening the doors for the space where the cars are. Nonetheless, you persevere and continue. When you get to almost the entrance of the restaurant, you realize that no one was searched before you. However, there's a security guard that is looking at you and frisking you and asking you to remove your shoes and everything to search you very, very vigorously. You wonder, what is going on? You still finish, you wear your things, and then you proceed to the gate. When you get to the gate, you realize that the people before you had the gate opened for them. And they were greeted, but no one decided to greet you, but you go in nonetheless. When you get in the restaurant, you inquire about your reservation, and you are only told that there's no reservation under that name. After all, that's your favorite restaurant, so you decide to sit down and see if someone will come and wait your table or ask you any question. But 30 minutes to 1 hour, no one comes. Now tell me, how will you feel? I can guarantee that some of you may feel angry. Some of you may feel disturbed, but a lot of you will feel invisible. This is what people living with disabilities go through every day. Sometimes, because we don't take them into consideration, they may feel invisible. So, for instance, let's talk, when we talk about the feeling invisible, for instance, when someone who is deaf goes into the hospital and does not get anyone to sign for them, they do not feel heard. They do not feel that their problems have been addressed. When they turn on the television and they realize that nobody is there to sign for them, they do not feel that they matter or they belong. And this is something that we are trying to change. We'll get into that area shortly. But also on the matter of inclusion, it's including women in STEM. I wrote this article titled African Women, and it was about African women in brain surgery. And I looked at the cultural perspectives and some of the challenges these African women are facing just by virtue of their career path. And I also went on to suggest ways of mitigating these challenges. Listen, I have had my fair share of challenges. Being a young African black woman who decided to pursue a career in science. I mean, it felt like the glass ceiling that I was supposed to shatter was made of titanium. It was difficult. In this piece, it was a very personal piece where I wrote about the sexism I faced when I decided to pursue a career in science and the attempted bullying. I also highlight on that. You see, I had experiences in media with colorism. I also had experiences where I was not given due credit for my work. These are just a few challenges I have decided to highlight on today, but there were many more. When it comes to girls in STEM, let's take it from primary school. The issue of child marriage is something that is still plaguing our society in the 21st century. The girls that are supposed to be in school are being taken away from us and are being married unlawfully. It is happening till date. It is happening now and it's happening till date. And it's not something that should be happening. One other issue is teenage pregnancy. You see, sometimes when girls find themselves pregnant and when they are in high school or junior high school, most of them are not able to continue because they don't have a good support system. So they are not able to further their education and complete their senior high school education or even go to the tertiary level. And most of them just drop out. And this is something that we have to look at. Organize more mentorship sessions like this so that women in STEM will also talk about their challenges. And we need to talk to the parents as well and the school so that if the girl gets pregnant, there is no bullying, there is no attempt to destroy the girl's education. The girl can still continue her education. Now, even when girls have the opportunity to persevere through all these challenges, there is still the cultural and social norms that is or that becomes a stumbling block. For instance, the gender roles. I mean, people claim they do not see the gender roles, but they exist. And these gender roles of women being placed in the kitchen are not things we should be encouraging. Women also deserve to be in the classroom, and that's why I was so happy where in the 90s and the early 2000s, there was this campaign to send your girl child to school. And indeed, more women are in the classroom when it comes to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, but we need much more than that. When it comes to, on the issue of women in STEM, I mean, there is also the issue of sexual harassment. So in the office, when the woman complains that she has been sexually harassed, and which is often meted out by males, there is no conducive environment for the woman to be able to complain. And even if she's able to complain, there is also the issue of her not being believed, and the issue being taken way out of context in such a way that she may even be fired. And these are the many things that plague our society as women today. And on the issue of salaries, the women are not also paid as equal as the men, just by virtue of them being a woman. And this is something that is greatly unfair, and that should be stopped. So moving on, I would like to talk about the issue of inclusion when it comes to people living with disabilities. About 1.3 billion people live with disabilities, and that's worldwide, and this is statistics by the World Health Organization, and they make up about 16% of the world. And when it comes to deafness, about 70 million people are dealing with deafness. And in Africa has about 40 million people that are deaf. In Ghana, we have about 470,737 people living with deafness, according to the 2021 population and housing census. And of those people, only about 45% of them are using sign language. And worldwide, we have only about 2% of deaf people having a formal education in sign language. And that is bad, and that's an area that is underrepresented. Because you see, according to the World Federation of the Deaf, there are over 200 recognized sign languages. And Ghana has about 4 of these sign languages, but we'll come to that. There are about 200 sign languages, but only about 41 countries have recognized sign language as their national sign language. So these countries, most of these countries are located in Europe, about 26 of them. And it is in Africa, we only have about 4 countries, namely South Africa, Uganda, Zimbabwe, and Kenya, having sign language being their official language. And you see, South Africa recently added sign language to their many languages, which is laudable. But in Ghana, we have 4 languages, like I said earlier. We have the American Sign Language, which was introduced by Mr. Andrew Foster. And Ghanaian Sign Language is an adaptation of American Sign Language. So there are a few differences. So in American Sign Language, we will sign RG like this. And then in Ghanaian Sign Language, we will sign RG like this. And then we also have the Adamrobe Sign Language that is used by the people of Adamrobe in Ghana, which is in the Greater Accra region. And then we also have the Nanabin Sign Language, which is used by a select few people within the central region of Ghana. So these are the 4 languages. But Ghana does not have a national policy for the deaf, or does not recognize any of these 4 languages as the national sign language. And that is, I mean, a grave injustice because Ghanaian Sign Language is one of our own. So I don't know why we don't have that. I mean, when we talk about other sign languages, we also have the British Sign Language, and which is quite different because they sign their letters using both hands. So for instance, if I wanted to sign B in British Sign Language, we will have this. And then if I wanted to sign B in American or Ghanaian Sign Language, we will have this. Okay. And so let's come to the man, Mr. Andrew Jackson Foster. Mr. Andrew Foster was not born deaf. When he was 11, he and his brother unfortunately suffered an infection to the spinal cord, something we, the medical doctors, technically call spinal meningitis. And it affected his hearing because it spread to other parts of the body, the brain, and some other organs. And he became deaf. But he didn't let that stop him. He went on to the Gallaudet University where he pursued higher education. But you see, Mr. Foster was a visionary. He realized that there was a big problem in Africa. In fact, only 2 countries at the time had schools for the deaf: Egypt and South Africa. Mr. Andrew Foster wanted to change the status quo. So he made his mission in life to come to Africa. And one of his first stops he made was in Ghana in the year 1957, which was coincidentally the year we gained independence. So he came to Africa and stopped at Ghana in Accra to build the first ever school for the deaf. And that was the first formal education people from the deaf community had in Ghana. And that's such a laudable feat. By the time, as he was building the schools, he was also setting up mission houses. So he was preaching the gospel alongside providing people who were deaf with a formal education. By the time he finished his work, there were about 32 schools for the deaf, to his credit. Some of the schools he built, he even built one in Ibadan, Nigeria, and he built in a total of 13 African countries. How fantastic is that? And today, we are enjoying the fruits of his labor. And I also enjoy the fruits of his labor because I went to the demonstration school for the deaf to learn sign language. And today in Ghana, we have about 17 schools for the deaf and 15 schools for children with disability. Unfortunately, Mr. Andrew Foster, in his line of duty, died in a plane crash when he was traveling to Kenya. But his legacy still lives on. And we thank him very much for being a pioneer for deaf education in Africa. So back to my story. I mean, I know you guys are interested in the story. So after I realized that I wanted to return to the school for the deaf, I went home, discussed this with my mother, and she felt that it was a laudable thing and she supported it. So we went to the headmaster. After I graduated medical school in 2021, I went to the headmaster's office to let him know that I wanted to volunteer for the school and I also wanted to learn sign language as well. And I started almost immediately. I was going from Monday to Friday every single day. And on the days I couldn't go, which was Saturday and Sunday, I was given assignments to present online. And Nana Yao here is part of the people, the team of teachers that were teaching me at the time. So I'm very grateful to all of them. I can't mention all their names. So if I didn't mention you, I'm very grateful to you as well. It took me a total of 6 months. And mind you, I was also learning from their children as well. And I was even learning faster from them because I would interact with them. And whenever I don't know a sign, they are going to finger spell it for me. And I am going to get it very quickly because the next time they see me, they are going to do the same thing. And it took me a total of 6 months to a year to learn it. And during my time in the school, I also had the opportunity to teach mathematics under supervision and also a social studies class. And I got to learn about some of their opinions on the state of the nation. And in this picture, this was April 27th, April 2021, you can see me teaching, writing on the board and teaching social studies. They are very, very, very intelligent kids, I must say. Before I left the school, I left them with a little gift. So I had always wanted to be part of Abacus. I got exposed to Abacus while I was in primary school, but unfortunately I couldn't partake in it. So I felt that Abacus was a very good way to improve arithmetic and pique the children's interest in STEM. So I decided that before I leave, let me introduce this Abacus to the children with some collaborators, of course, and this was in 2021. And the children were able to communicate to me something that was very heartwarming. They told me that after the demonstration and the introduction of Abacus, they told me that they had always seen this Abacus competition on TV, but they never thought it was going to be something that was going to be very close to them, and they never thought they could partake in it. And it was so heartwarming to see. I faced a few challenges with the project, but we will come back to that. I got new collaborators, so this year we are working on new things for you. But we will come back to that shortly. I went on to the Tamale Teaching Hospital to do my housemanship. And the housemanship program is a 2-year program where you're working to get your permanent license. So this slide shows an article I wrote for the World Bank. And in this picture, this is a picture that I took this year with my new Abacus project, where I reintroduced the children at the demonstration school for the deaf to the Abacus once again. So you can see in the picture over there. Now, in this write-up, I also share one of my greatest achievements ever. And this experience is also a very heartwarming experience for me because it was unexpected. You see, I learned sign language in 2021, and then I went off to do my house job. So by 2022, I did not know this, but I was sitting in my consulting room one day when a deaf mother with her child came into the consulting room visibly frustrated, paper and pen in hand, with things scribbled on the paper. I did not know she was deaf then, so I decided to talk to her. I was trying to tell her to sit down, and I was asking her what's wrong, but she was busy writing on the paper. So I guessed that could it be that she was deaf? So I started signing. I said, "Hello. My name is Dr. Na. Your name?" And I'll never forget the expression on her face because it was a mixture of shock and excitement. I mean, she told me her name and the conversation went so smoothly. And she told me one thing that I'll never forget. That was the first time she felt understood in the hospital. But she asked me one question that I could not answer. She asked me why was it that nobody in the hospital could understand her but me? Why did she have to go through all that struggle? Nobody could sign for her. I mean, it was disheartening for me to hear that because that was something that I did not want her to experience. And then I wish that, well, everybody could sign or at least try to learn a few words in sign language. But nonetheless, because I did not want that to happen, I took initiative. And I'd been postponing this, but I decided, as my New Year resolution in 2023, that was last year, to start my sign language channel. That's a sign with Ajeli. So the sign language channel, which is on YouTube, focuses on using sign language alongside with voice to educate the general public and the deaf community on certain health issues. And with this channel, I have had a lot of positive responses from people in the deaf community and the general public as well. People tell me how much they love the sign language and how they want to learn it. And they are always welcome to learn it as well. And people from the deaf community also tell me that they learn a lot from it. So I'm very grateful for you, for those who are watching and those who want to also learn sign language as well. But in this World Bank article as well, I talk about various strategies that I would like to employ when it comes to inclusion for the deaf community. I will outline them further later on. Now, you see, pre-technical skills, which was one of my other favorite courses, taught me that you have to plan. And you see, when you are drawing that plan and your front view and your end view, it shows you that if you don't plan, you make mistakes. And you have to, and core mathematics and math, which was my favorite subject at the time, taught me that you have to follow that plan to the letter, especially when you are doing construction. Because see, when you are doing construction, you don't follow the instructions or the plan, you can't get your maximum marks. So the same applies here. So I sat down to develop a plan of action that I felt was going to be inclusive, especially and tailored to the deaf community. And the first thing that I wanted to do, which in chemistry we call it the rate determining step or the rate limiting step, because without that step, you will know your reaction. If that step, your rate determining step is slow, the rest of your reactions will be slow, and you'll not be able to get to your endpoint. So ensuring that sign language is an official language is the rate determining step. You see, if we have a national policy in Ghana here and adapt Ghanaian sign languages, because it's ours, and it's for the people in our deaf community and all of us, our language as well. If we adapt this language as our official language, it's going to open a lot of doors for us. You see, we have English as our official language. To some extent, in the schools, we learn French from the primary school to the secondary school and the university level. We even learn Chinese and Spanish. So why can't we introduce Ghanaian Sign Language into the basic schools and into the senior high schools and the universities? Why can't we? If we have a national policy for sign language, you see, people will be forced and organizations will be forced to have a sign language interpreter for the fraction of deaf people in this country. And let me tell you what that would do. You see, when COVID came, a lot of the sessions were online. And a lot of sign language interpreters were confined to a box. And for me, sometimes I do watch programs online, and especially when there's a sign language interpreter, I like to, when there's no volume, I do watch programs online. When there's a sign language interpreter, I try to see if I can see what the person is signing. And most of the time, it's difficult to see. So why can't we increase the size of that box? Why can't we have sign language interpreters at all programs that we find ourselves in? Because the people in the deaf community need to benefit from this education or whatever entertainment or education is going on. And you see, in this country, when it comes to people with disabilities or people living with disabilities, we indeed have the People with Disabilities Act that was passed. And we do have the Common Fund, which takes about 2%, now it's 3% from the District Assembly Fund. That is tailored for people living with disabilities in terms of healthcare, education, and the like. But I still think that this is woefully inadequate. And there are a lot of injustices when it comes to people living with physical and intellectual disabilities. Take, for example, most of our institutions and organizations and universities, they don't have disability accessible places. So you build a house, an organization, a university, and there are all staircases, there's no elevator, there's no ramp, or there's nothing to make it disability friendly. There is no provision for extra time for those who have intellectual disabilities. There's no provision for those who are deaf and want to get an education from you. This is a grave injustice that we must correct. I have already spoken about including sign language in the basic school curriculum, the high school and the university curriculum. But with regard to that, I just want to say something. You see, with all these strategies and plans of action, I have written to the Ministry of Education and the Office of Diaspora Affairs because of the international exchange components, which we will come back to later. But I felt that this should be a national program. And if it's a national program, why not write to the Ministry of Education? But not much came out of that encounter. So I don't want to focus too much on that. But I still wrote to other schools. I wrote to Ashasi, and I'm working with University of Ghana, and we are in talks to help introduce this in the medical school curriculum, as well as the other science disciplines. And I would like for this to also be introduced into the basic and senior high school level, so that when people who are deaf want to also go to the Infante Pims, the Wesley Girls, the Infante Man, they can also go to all those schools of their choice, because they do have dreams of going to the Ivy League schools like Harvard, Yale, and the like. So why can't they? To my third point, instituting an abacus and science competition among deaf schools. So I had challenges in 2021 after the initial introduction. The project kicked off, but there were a few challenges. So this year, with some new collaborators, we have trained about 9 teachers at the demonstration school for the deaf who are in turn training deaf students. Now, the aim of this project is to have an abacus and science competition among the deaf schools, aside picking the interest in STEM and also showcasing their capabilities, because I know these kids are smart. I just want you to see it too. And so, aside the abacus science and competition among the deaf schools, we are also planning to have inter-deaf competitions and eventually competitions with schools that have hearing children. How fantastic would that be? I know it is possible. And you see, when I went to introduce the abacus to the children, I asked one question. I communicated in sign language, of course. I asked how many of them wanted careers in STEM, wanted to be doctors, wanted to be engineers, mathematicians, and be in tech. And almost about 50% of them wanted to do so. And I told them that it was possible, and it's indeed possible. Anything is possible. On the issue of introducing robotics to the deaf students, I've been in talks with Ashasi and advocated for that introduction. So I was introduced to robotics when I was in Wesley Girls High School. I did not prospects. On the issue of the international exchange program for deaf students, I had a very nice opportunity when I was about to go into my final year of medical school to have an elective in Germany. So I went to Germany. I was able to see a number of surgeries that I did not see when I was in Ghana. So laparoscopic surgeries, those are robotic surgeries with special machines where you make a tiny cut. And they are very, it was so fantastic. I got to see heart surgeries, and I got to make new connections, learned about their culture, made new networks, and there were immense opportunities for research. And I also want children with disabilities in general, and also focusing on children with hearing problems and children that are deaf to also have this experience, because I believe they deserve to go out there and see what's out there for them. Because I wanted it to be a situation where you have locally, we can start locally. So you can have deaf schools and deaf children going to schools where the children are hearing so that they interact with them. And also the hearing schools and the children from these hearing schools will also collaborate with the schools for the deaf so that the children from the hearing schools can also go and stay with the school for the deaf. And by doing so, they also are getting to be integrated and learn the sign language. With the international exchange program, I also was looking at children from the schools for the deaf in Ghana having an agreement with international schools outside in the US and the UK, where they can also go and learn about their culture, learn about their sign language, make new friends, new networks, and connections, because I know what my exchange program did for me. And they also deserve a chance at that. Now, when it comes to the technology aspect of it, I am in the initial stages with my new collaborators, and we are trying to build a new sign language translator. And now this sign language translator, if it's successful, is going to be one of a kind, because we intend to use machine learning in such a way that we'll be able to use this in the health information management systems at events, during programs like this and on TV, in the news, so that instead of having someone to sign, the machine can also do the signing for you. And when the deaf person is signing, it can also sign for you. So we intend to have the speech and text to sign, and vice versa. So sign language to speech and text, and for the people in the blind community, because you also have the people that are born deaf blind. And on that matter, I got, when I was in the school for the deaf, I got the opportunity to meet a deaf blind teacher, and the way we communicated was by touch. So if she wanted to sign something for me, she would sign. And if I wanted to sign something for her, I would have to hold her hands and show her what I'm signing. It was quite fantastic. So with the deaf blind, we are looking at using vibrations. If it's successful, it has very great prospects. And we're also looking at those who also can't talk to see ways in which they can also communicate, either through text or some other method. So we hope this is also successful. Now, I've spoken to certain industry players when it comes to sporting activities and children living with disability, with a special focus on the school for the deaf. So I am looking at introducing sporting camps, training sessions, and basketball festivals, and inviting these industry players to come and talk to the kids about the details of sports, because you know you have the physical aspects of sports and the business of sports as well. So by doing so, I believe that it will open up scholarship opportunities for these deaf children, and these deaf children can also have exchange programs, local exchange programs, and even sometimes international exchange programs with hearing schools as well as schools for the deaf. So if this is done, I think it's going to be very great, because you know, as you are exercising your mind with the abacus and in school, there is also the need to exercise your body, because we believe in holistic education over here. So with regard to scholarships, I believe in being intentional. You see, DEI, that is diversity, equity, and inclusion, is not just a pretty statement in your mission and vision as an organization. It is something that you should live by every single day as an organization. So when it comes to scholarships, it is not enough to occasionally give scholarships to people living with disabilities. It has to be a consistent effort and a deliberate effort to set up scholarship schemes, because these people need assistance. Most of the people living with disabilities come from Africa. They need assistance to achieve their dreams. And that little push also requires financial assistance. So this is a very important aspect. Now, this picture you see here is a very wonderful picture and dear to my heart, because this is a picture of champions. This picture was taken in 2013 when students, these students are the first ever deaf American football team. And they were the first deaf American football champions to win their first conference title. And that was in 2013. And they come from Gallaudet University, and this was the same university that Mr. Andrew Foster, the one who introduced deaf education to Africa and Ghana, attended. They are doing wonderful things over there, I must say. Now, in 2016, I wrote about the state of Ghanaian and Nigerian comedy, and to some extent, the state of international comedy. And especially the state of the comedy at the time and currently too is that most of the time comedians make fun of people living with disabilities, like squints, the way certain people walk, people who are deaf. And I always say that as a comedian, if you feel that you need to make fun of someone living with a disability, then maybe you are not funny enough. And you have much more pressing issues to attend to, if that is your career path of choice. You see, people living with disabilities did not choose to have the disability. So at no point in your life should you decide to make fun of that disability, because that can be very, very traumatizing to the individual. Growing up, there was this culture of making fun of people living with disabilities that I decided not to partake in. You see, when you're a child and you have a play in Ghana, sometimes people try to introduce the way someone walks, or in some way introduce something that they think is funny, or sometimes even in comedies, in music videos as well, in the movies, they try to do that. But I'm here to tell you that it's not funny. You shouldn't be doing that. And on the issue, I've had to correct people several times in meetings and in my daily life. When they make fun of people with squints, when they make fun of people who are deaf, and they add certain derogatory adjectives to the deaf term. I'm not going to repeat them here because they shouldn't be added. They are deaf, period. They are not any other thing. Don't add any derogatory adjectives to their name. I am going on to talk about certain people who lived with disabilities that made strides in their various fields. And as we are sitting here today, you can see that we are enjoying the light, and it's thanks to one man, I mean a crew of course, but thanks to one man in history who created the electric lamp, the incandescent light bulb. He also created the gramophone. I mean, I'm Gen Z, so like I wasn't using the gramophone, but I know it's used in sound records. He also created the motion picture camera for movies. So if you've ever enjoyed a movie before, he's the guy. And last but not least, I mean, of his many inventions that I want to mention, he also created the pneumatic stencil pen. And if you have a tattoo or you're a fan of tattoos, you should be thanking him, because the pneumatic stencil pen is the ancestor of the tattoo gun, which we use today. Initially, the stencil pen was used for printing, autographing, signing on paper. Yes. So the man is Thomas Edison, the famous scientist and inventor. And Thomas Edison was not born deaf, but he became deaf at the early age of 12. But he persisted to become an inventor. You see, the thing about Thomas Edison, and then one of the most interesting things about him, is that he loved music. He loved to listen to music. And how was he listening to this music? He would go close to where the music is being played. And this is something we call bone conduction. So he senses it from the vibrations. And at that time, they used to term it listening with your teeth. And hence, that's why he was so interested that he invented the gramophone. So he's someone who persevered in spite of all odds. Now we move on to our next person. Ever heard of Symphony Number 9? Or one of the most popular ones, Symphony Number 5. I wish I had a piano here to play it for you. I mean, I wouldn't be as good as him, but the guy responsible for all those melodious tunes was Ludwig van Beethoven. He is up there with Mozart when it comes to classical music and orchestra. But you see, Beethoven started realizing that he was becoming deaf when he was 28 years old. But he still continued to play the piano and be in the orchestra and give us the melodious symphonies we enjoy till date. But at the age of about 45, he became completely deaf and went into private life and was still playing for his close friends and family till the day of his death. I mean, there are lots of theories when it comes to the deafness of Thomas Edison and Ludwig van Beethoven, ranging from infections to accidents. And for Beethoven, it was a theory of lead poisoning. But whatever led to his deafness, it did not stop him from becoming great, because he was one of the greatest composers and pianists of his era, right up there with Mozart. And here we can see him pictured with one of his greatest manuscripts ever, the Missa Solemnis. Bringing the message home to Ghana is Madame Farida Bedri. She is a software engineer, and she was one of the first people in Ghana with cerebral palsy to attain such heights. I've had a personal experience with her, meeting her in her office, which I will show later on. But let's talk about her career as a software engineer. She obtained her diploma in IT and decided to walk into one of the offices of one of the software companies at the time to tell them that she wanted to do some work for them and gain some experience in software engineering. She rose through the ranks and got to become a software engineer by pursuing higher education. She's an inspiration to many children all around Ghana and all around the world. Eventually, she founded her own company that provides financial solutions with the use of IT, and that is fantastic. This is a picture of me and her in her office. By then, I was still a medical student, and I got the chance to meet Farida in her office. And she also shared another aspect of her, which I found interesting. She spoke about her comic film, Kamsa, which she had written by then, and it's about a superhero that has cerebral palsy and uses crutches to fight the evil people. And you see, the thing about Kamsa and this comic is that I think it encourages children all around the world who are living with disabilities to be able to think and know that their assisted devices that they use are really cool, and it will encourage them. And I'm so happy about that, and I was so happy to hear that. Now, moving on to a story that is close to home of a Ghanaian man. Now he's a doctor, a PhD holder, Mr. Dr. Ebenezer Azamati, who attended University of Oxford. And at the time, he was attending a union debate at Oxford. That was in the year 2019, where he was forcibly removed by some staff at the union debate, where the union debate was going on. And he was forcibly removed from the premises after he had struggled to secure a seat. And you see, this is very disheartening because this is not something that should be happening. Just imagine This gentleman is blind, by the way. And imagine you can't see, and people you don't know start vigorously and violently touching you, and you don't know where these touches are coming from. How traumatizing would that be? And they're asking you to leave the premises of a debate you knew you were going to be a part of. How traumatizing is that going to be? This is something that should never have happened. Eventually, Dr. Azamati received a payout for that incident. Now, moving on, in the field of politics, we have lawyer Ivor Greenstreet, who is no stranger to criticism, but is an inspiration to people living with disabilities. He has been a politician for a number of years now and has also run for presidency in several elections. And you can see him in his law regalia on the left-hand side and also a picture of him on the right-hand side. A true inspiration to many and an advocate for people with disabilities. To the next slide, and this man is Henry Seydou Dana Esquire. So the man you see in the picture is a man who is blind, but is the first ever blind lawyer in Ghana. Such a monumental moment for Ghana. And he was also the first ever minister in Ghana to be blind. He held the office of the Ministry of Chieftaincy as the main minister of Chieftaincy and Traditional Affairs from the year 2013 to the year 2017. It was a great moment for Ghana. He has done a lot for people in the blind community to know that they can achieve whatever they want. Now I'm coming to tell you another interesting story. While I was in my room, and I know where this happened because it was such a monumental moment for me. I was in my room and I was trying to put on the console to play some video games. And I heard a voice because the TV was on by then. And it was the voice of a newscaster. But I usually watch certain news channels religiously. So I know some of the voices because I listen to a lot of radio as well as watch the news. And at the time, I was like, who is this new voice? Well, my head was still down because I was switching on the console. But when I looked at the screen, I realized something. That was the first time I had seen someone using Braille to read the news in Ghana so eloquently. And in fact, I abandoned the quest to continue my video game. And I sat throughout the news presentation till the end, and I followed this gentleman religiously. This gentleman was Paul Anoma Kodie. He was the first ever newscaster to be blind and read the news in Ghana. It is so inspiring for him to become a journalist and knowing the loops he must have had to jump and the hurdles he might have faced. In his TEDx talk, Paul talks about how he found out that he was blind and how he became blind. It was through measles, a measles infection, and his parents took him to a lot of prayer camps. They took him to a lot of places just for a solution. When they realized that nothing was working, they decided to take him to the hospital, and he was told that he would have to go to the special school for the blind. So he attended a Cropon school for the blind, but nonetheless, he still persevered with his dream to the university. He faced some challenges there when he wanted to enter the media space, because where he wanted to have his radio session was on the last floor. And he faced a lot of challenges with regard to his introduction in the media space. But subsequently, he was able to get the chance and the opportunity to come online through supportive colleagues in media. And today, we see his picture here today as an inspiration to all children and all people around the world, not only the blind. Now to recent news. And this story is interesting because I knew of Juventus Dorina, now Esquire, when I was learning sign language at the demonstration school for the deaf. I knew of him, and I was told that there's someone studying to become a lawyer, and I was thinking, wow, that is so fantastic. I was so excited for him. Because you see, I mean, I understand the challenges, some of the challenges he has had to go through, because when I was learning sign language, and in my field of medicine, sign language is very limited when it comes to technical terms, especially Ghanaian sign language. So I often say that I have an American accent when I'm signing. You see, sign language is such a beautiful language as well. It's like a dance that you get to do for your friends in the deaf community to be able to communicate with them, and it's so beautiful. But you see, the limitations of sign language causes a lot of issues. So if, for instance, there are certain technical terms in medicine that is going to be very difficult to sign because there's no term for it or provision has not been made for that. So you have to create a new term. And when you are creating a new term, you have to inform the people within the deaf community that this is a new term you are creating, or either that or you explain, which might even be longer. So sometimes we just go with a new term and a new name we've given to that particular thing. And you see, Mr. Juventus Dorina also went through the same challenge. So in his legal education, there were certain legal terms from his interview that he spoke, that he communicated through his sign language interpreter. And he was saying that when it got to certain technical terms, they had to create new terms for him to learn, to be able to know what the teacher was talking about. So imagine learning English, because Mr. Juventus Dorina was not born deaf. He wasn't born deaf as well. There was an infection that led to his deafness, and thereby he had to go to the school for the deaf for his education. So imagine having to learn English, having to learn sign language, and having to learn new terms on top of that sign language. And you have to pass your exams as well. I mean, it's fantastic whenever I see this picture, I just clap for him. I'm so excited because I know how much it took to get there, and I'm well aware of the challenges. So congrats to him once again. What a fantastic feat for people in the deaf community. Now to one of my favorites. Now, DeMarco. So now is a deaf American actor, a model, and an Oscar-nominated TV producer. Now has a twin brother who is also a deaf person and works as a DJ. How fantastic is that? You see, now Faze was born into a multi-generational deaf family. And he wrote a book where he discussed being born deaf and being born into a family where they were all deaf. He also discusses the deaf culture and living in the deaf community as well. Now went on to win Dancing with the Stars and America's Next Top Model. He is such an inspiration, and he does not let anything deter him. He has an organization that educates people in the deaf community and helps provide accessible education to people in the deaf community. And he even talks about the fact that when his parents found out that he and his twin brother were deaf, it was a moment of excitement. And in fact, when you watch his interview, he talks about how the doctor was trying to tell them that no, it's not a good thing. And the mother said it is a good thing in their family because they do come from a multi-generational deaf family. And it's so cool. And he also attended the Gallaudet University for the Deaf, which is in the United States of America, by the way. And he's doing a lot of exploits when it comes to that area. You see, all the people I have told you about have one thing in common, and that is perseverance. They didn't let anything stop them. They didn't let their disability stop them. But you see, I mean, when it comes to career, I have dabbled in a lot of careers. I have been a producer, I've worked in the media, I am working in research right now. I have been a writer for both social issues and in academia, doing some academic writing, and I am currently a medical doctor. So when it comes to career, don't limit yourself. Education and the period of education is about exploration. You can explore at any moment of your life. So if you're a person listening with disability today, I'm here to tell you that you can be anything and everything you want to be. Don't just be one thing. You can be multiple things at a time, or you can decide to be one thing. It's up to you. You see, deaf people can also be musicians. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They can also be the presenters. They can also be in movies. They can also be actors. They can be scientists. They can be doctors, engineers, mathematicians, anything they want to be. Don't let anything stop you. And you see, I would like to see a world where I enter the classroom, I enter a school, I enter a workplace, and I'm not able to tell the difference between someone with a disability and someone who does not have a disability. Especially when it comes to deafness and the other disabilities, being blind or deafblind as well, because I want a world where people are going to be communicating and there's going to be so much integration and less discrimination in such a way that inequities no longer exist. And I would like to see that interaction and integration in the world. That is why I do what I do every single day, because that is the world I would like to live in, where there is no discrimination, no segregation, and these inequities that I have spoken about today no longer exist. My name is Dr. Na Ajo Ajili Boyjani. Thank you for coming to this mentorship session, and continue watching NSMQ. Thank you and bye-bye. My references.
Akoto! Akoto! I know you are there. Come on, Akoto! Come see Capremi. Come see Capremi.
Hello, Alpha.
Come on,
Yeah, the landlady is here today too. She's harassing me this morning. Yes, come and see how I'm sweating.
Well, if I catch you,
Yes, the number I sent you the last time. Yes, use the JuPay app. It will come right now.
Hey, bra. Ah, so when I'm sick of mommy. Give me my money. Me, Jim Sika.
We didn't know. What your JuPay is here. Yes, Canada, sure, JuPay. JuPay is the best money transfer app that is used to send money directly from the US to Ghana free of charge. They have the best rates in the market and they are very competitive. And not in a scanner abroad.
Ow.
Let me see. She's never had a toothache before.
There might be a cavity. Don't you use Pepsodent?
We used to, but I'll try the new one.
Ah, that's why.
But doesn't every toothpaste give cavity protection?
Not really. Pepsodent's Cavity Fighter repairs tiny invisible holes to give 10 times stronger teeth. Will you trust Pepsodent?
Definitely.
Pepsodent. 10 times stronger teeth.
Use Pepsodent's Cavity Fighter.
Akoto. I know you are there. Come on, Akoto. Come see Capremi.
Hello, Alpha.
Come on from
Yeah, the landlady is here today too. She's harassing me this morning. Yes, come and see how I'm sweating.
Well, if I catch you,
Yes, the number I sent you the last time. Yes, use the Jupe app. It will come right now.
Dear bra. Ah, so when come see mommy. Give me my money. Me Jimsika.
We didn't know. When you Jupe is here, yes, Canada Bay. Jupe. Jupe is the best money transfer app that is used to send money directly from the US to Ghana free of charge. They have the best rates in the market and they are very competitive. And no thing is Kano Kana Abrosono.
Ow.
Let me see.
She's never had a tooth.
Thank you so much for staying on. It's just exciting. I'm still, should I say starstruck? Yes, I am, because this is a doctor whose advocacy is going very, very far, as far as we would like for it to go to. Nurses are actually on our pages and telling us that, yes, indeed, they do learn sign language for a semester in all of their colleges, so whether private or public, they learn the sign language. And then maybe let me go straight into the question, Dr. Na. The question is, how can they continue to hone their skill? Because he's saying here that though they do the semester course, they're still unable to sign. What must we do? How can we help them? Because yes, now it's been infused in their curriculum. You do this one semester, but the output, the outcome is what I would like for you to do. Please advise us.
So, like you rightly said, it's in the curriculum for the nurses now. It's only one semester. But what will happen to be able to solve that problem is practice. They need to practice. And they also need to increase the number of sessions they have. So they need to increase the number of sessions so that more semesters will be added to it. I actually drew up a detailed curriculum and lessons, and in my structured curriculum that I proposed to the Ministry of Education, it included some interaction with the people in the deaf community. Because you see, it's just like speaking English or any other language. You can know what is on paper, but when it comes to the real life experience of speaking with someone who speaks English and is speaking fast, and in this case, signing fast, it can be a problem. So sometimes some of the nurses are not able to sign when they meet deaf patients because by that time they have forgotten all their signs. They are not even able to finger spell. Some of them do well to be able to sign some, but we need to increase the amount of sessions they have in their curriculum. If it can be a whole year, that would be fine. Because you see, we learn English, French, throughout our primary education. Some even take it to senior high school level. Some even take it to the university level. We are learning Spanish, we are learning Chinese. So why can't we just learn our own Ghanaian sign language? This one is ours. And we are learning other people's languages, but we are deciding not to learn ours. So that's something that I think we can do, and the Ministry of Education can also look at. And schools individually as well can also look at it, because private schools have the leverage when it comes to education. They can introduce certain things in their curriculum as well, without the long bureaucratic processes. Yes.
So if one wants to be a facilitator, just like Uncle Nana here,
yes,
what must they do?
So with the sign language, I mean, I was fortunate to go to the source. That was the demonstration school for the deaf. And to anyone who is listening or watching us today and who wants to learn sign language or is interested in learning sign language, they can go right to the source. Any of the schools for the deaf, they will direct you to the right places. You can also see Uncle Nanaya out here. He's a certified sign language interpreter, and he can also take you through some of his sessions. He was one of the members of the team of teachers that took me through my sessions for the 6 months. And then I went on to do my practice for a year. So something that also helped me not forget my sign language was the videos I was making, the educational YouTube videos I was making. Because you see, when I was in Tamale Teaching Hospital, when I was busy working as a house officer in Legon Hospital, I didn't have much time to go back to the demonstration school for the deaf. So they were only going to see me once in a while, which meant that it was going to be a once in a while interaction. So I decided to also educate people within the community, and that also serves as a way for me to also practice my sign language. And I have a sign language dictionary on my phone, and in fact 2 sign language dictionaries. So I told you I have an American accent whenever I sign. That's because I have been borrowing from the American sign language, and I also have the Ghanaian sign language dictionary as well. But you know, the learning needs to be guided. So in sign language, when we talk about grammar in sign language, we don't sign every single word. Sign language is about understanding. So if I want to ask your name, I will not say what is your name, sign the full thing. I will just say you, name, or your name. I wouldn't say the full thing. Yeah, so sign language is about understanding. That's why you need teachers to guide you as to how to sign the word correctly. And even if you don't know the word, how to finger spell it, how to create new signs. And yes, and the dictionary can just tell you what the sign means. And in sign language, context is very, very important. Because you may be signing, something like patience, like something like this in American Sign Language. And then I may be talking about a sick person, but in the dictionary I see patience, which is the same thing. Maybe the dictionary hasn't really explained that they are talking about abortre patience. And then, so I'm talking about a sick person. Yeah. So you see, these are some of the differences. And then the differences in sign language, like I told you, the British Sign Language, and we have them using both hands. So the B will be like this, and in Ghana and American, it will be like this. Yeah, so you need to know some of those differences. And also, there are differences in sign language because of the differences in culture. I mean, different gestures mean different things in different cultures. And so you go and do something in someone's culture, they will say it's derogatory. So you do not, you have to learn things and be respectful of the culture as well.
That's so special.
Yeah.
Doc, there's a question I just want to also put it in context, especially for an experience I would like to have, which is, I beg your pardon, if a patient walks into your office and you realize that, oh, you need to sign to, get the diagnostics going, etc. How would that look? How would that look like on a day-to-day? So maybe
it's more like, yay, I need to sign. Because I'm so happy that I've met them. Yeah, so with the instance that I spoke about concerning the deaf mother that entered the consulting room, I didn't actually know she was deaf, and she was just carrying a paper around. So I guess because I was talking and she wasn't really responding to what I was saying. So I just thought that, okay, could she be deaf? And I started signing, and yes, and it went that way. But with deaf patients, you see, sometimes deaf patients need to feel comfortable. They need to feel that they are comfortable. And consultation is such a personal and intimate setting. Someone needs to feel comfortable before they tell you their issues. And you see, the reason why I'm pushing so much for people in the health sector especially to be able to sign is because it's not the same thing when a deaf person comes. You are not able to establish rapport and connect with that person on the level, and you resort to writing on papers. And writing on papers, it makes the process tiresome. Everything the person has to do, they have to write, you have to write, time wasting. Yes, yes. And the meaning is also lost in translation, yes. And so there's the need, that's why I will encourage everyone to learn the sign language. So when they come, it's like talking to someone normally. It's about understanding. If you know the language, you by all means understand what the person is saying. If you don't understand what the person is saying, that's why you can always fingers fail at all times, yes.
Yeah, and that answers a question. It's a question about people, the fear of getting wrong diagnosis, wrong medication.
Yes, yes, misdiagnosis, yes.
To be able to tell, will go a long way to solving
yes.
these issues.
Yes. There have even been cases in law where a deaf person goes to the court, they don't get an interpreter, and then the person is unfortunately jailed or goes into, there have been cases that I have heard like that. And, and that's why I like the fact that Juventus was able to achieve this feat so much, because I think that he's going to change a lot of things when he gets there.
Absolutely. And of course, with the gentleman from the Oxford.
Yes. He also became he also became the president of the African students after that incident as well. Yes.
Yeah, that's super.
Yes.
And that gives us precedence.
Yes.
That's very comforting.
Yes.
And inclusive.
Yes.
As much as possible. Today, as we're speaking about inclusive STEM practices in the 21st century, this is really full circle. Of course, one of the buzzwords has come to stay. Today is the DEI, which we're talking about.
Yeah.
So, it's not just a buzzword and a must-have, and like you said in our mission vision statements, but word in action.
Yes, every single day.
Word in action. And Doc, you're exemplifying that.
Thank you.
A little birdie said, let's ask you about your loves. So what happens to basketball and what happens to math? Which one is the true love?
You see, when it comes to various aspects of my life, I have a lot of loves. So basketball is my first love when it comes to sports. And mathematics is my first love when it comes to subjects or courses I have ever taken. I hope that answers your question, by the way.
Curveball. Careful. If you were not Dr. Najwa, what would you have been?
Mathematician.
You said
Najwa.
that. Today, this is STEM festival. We're looking out for the secret skill, but your secret skill is what you are doing, on a daily. On top of that, what is your true secret skill that we don't know about?
You already know about the signing.
Yes,
Basketball.
we know that one. And the mad love.
Let me think. Maybe public speaking. You've seen it.
Of course, it's one of our favorites, and I'm sure if you go back into the media clips and archives, you'll find that Dr. Na has graced a lot of shows, produced some, and they have been fantastic, and you continue to write.
Yes.
Articles, powerful, impactful messages there.
Yeah.
But this is what time will afford us. I'm sure you'll join us. We will be at the National Theatre, US, on the 21st, on the 22nd, and on the 23rd for the SciTech Fair, for the exhibition and for the SciTech Innovation Challenge. So still stay with us. Join us on this wonderful journey. We'll be back tomorrow, proudly produced by Prime Time Limited, in partnership with Pepsodent, with support from Jupe Money Transfer, Bell Beverages, YFM, and GTP. And how do we sign thank you? Thank you.
Thank you.